Wrestle Matts here. We're doing a Ruthless Aggression mock draft. How do you say it, Matt? Ruthless Aggression.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. You got that one down. Another one just to add to the Matty Riser arsenal. We got Dusty. We got who else we got in the arsenal there?
A little bit of everything, baby.
Oh man, Ruthless Aggression though. This one, this mock draft took me back to a lot of good memories, a lot of great runs for folks that you don't necessarily think about just like off the top of your head. But then when you really go back and dig into it, Ruthless Aggression, man, it created some stars and it created some incredible moments. I'm actually stoked about this draft.
Dude, this is like that perfect mix of guys that were in the Attitude Era that weren't necessarily your main eventers that elevated themselves. Then, like you said, just kind of these guys that were can't miss prospects. And now they're, some of the greatest of all time. So it's fun. And I believe you're going to start us off with the 101.
Yeah, with the 101, I'll go with the guy that Michael Cole is referring to as the greatest of all time, and John Cena, who is now on his retirement tour. So, Maddie, we got to appreciate John Cena for the now, but for this show, we're going to appreciate him for the Ruthless Aggression Era. And I mean, how do I skip over the guy who is basically synonymous with the phrase, with the era, Ruthless Aggression? There was no way I could pass him up here, Maddie. You see the chain, you see the spinner title, dude.
Oh.
This is where John Cena just like really came into his own for me.
Dude, and it's like you said, it started right off the bat. This guy was different, and he was associated with every big name of that time frame. And wait, you got Kurt Angle to start it off with? Like, that's your intro into WWE? Perfect.
John Cena with the 101.
John Cena, Santino. Dude, and the spinner belt, like, that was probably one of the most. Was that the first time that a WWE? Well, I guess we've seen the Smoking Skull and all these other ones.
Yeah.
But the spinner belt, dude, and rapping John Cena, like, dude, so innovative.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a lot of classic John Cena promos from that time, especially Doctor of Thugonomics and the rapping and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be synonymous. Again, the gear, the chain, all of that stuff. But, dude, it just, I mean, to your point, when you have an era, right, and you think about the GOATs of a specific era, and then you run down John Cena's opponents, to your point, it's not just Hall of Famers, it's everybody that was anybody in that era too. Not only that, he's on top of it, and he's on top of it with a signature title. I just don't know what more you want out of the 101 here.
Yeah, dude, and this is just early John Cena was just as over as he is now. Like, it just shows you.
It feels like that.
Yeah, we were all invested, and I think there's nothing more set in stone than John Cena at 101. I had 102 though, so let's get going.
You bastard.
Down, I walk alone. Batista at 102. Dude, the Batista bomb, the fireworks, everything, the evolution of Dave Batista. And dude wasn't a spring chicken when he came into the WWE. He was like 39.
No, a little DDP-esque, right?
Right. And dude, and just everything they did with Batista, it was like it worked. Everything, it was the right time, the right place for Dave Batista. And yeah, dude, I don't think one of the most more memorable storylines of all time is him and Triple H going into WrestleMania 21 and just, I've been knowing what I was going to do for a long time. Just perfection.
If this was a draft of WWE theme songs, that would have been my 101.
Oh, it's so good.
For another time, but yes, it's the 101 with theme songs. So when you think about Batista, that's literally the first thing I think that you think of is that classic entrance with the song, with the pyro, with his with his animation, if you will, the arms and everything setting off the fireworks. He is one of those guys that when you see him, and he's been this way his whole career, you're just like, fuck, what do I do with this guy? You know what I mean? Just kind of unreal, just raw, untapped power is, I think, what we got out of Batista. He's kind of a little bit of a throwback, right, of like this big, huge, almost bodybuilding-esque sort of physique, but he moved in more of a, I don't know, man. He just had a different level of raw athleticism.
And he had intensity, he had charisma. It was like
Yeah.
almost the total package. His promos like are good. This is like cool hand Luke, but like even bad Batista was good. Like
Good.
everything,
Yeah. Exactly.
like all, and you can just see like how the acting transitions because of how
Yeah.
the storylines with Ray and the storylines with Triple H and Eddie Guerrero. Like this guy had Hollywood written all over him. We just didn't know it, during this Ruthless Aggression Era.
Yeah, it's crazy to hear him talk about too how this was basically almost not right between being chosen for Evolution, but almost marked in drag.
Oh, crazy.
Being out on the road, doing the drinking and everything else, and it almost like he had to really kind of get himself in line. And we were so close, like we're this close, man, to just never getting Batista, who is the 102 of this draft and somebody that we have such fond memories of. And speaking of fond memories, I couldn't let the 103 escape me here. And Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero is almost going to be at the top of any of my lists at this point. I mean, I don't know how you leave him off in basically any era, even if you threw it back to WCW, an elite cruiserweight at the time. So Eddie, to me, is just transitionally great across any era, across any programming, across any weight class, whatever you want to say about Eddie, man. I just think he's top tier on whatever Mount Rushmore you want to put him on.
Yeah, because you're like you said, his cruisermate matches were some of the best of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he pays his dues. He adds some muscle. He adds that kind of like maybe that missing piece with the promos, early stage Attitude Era with China. And then what you get in the Ruthless Aggression, just like this veteran that's always been looked over. And he finally gets his moment. And it's like one of those, another WrestleMania moment. It's got to be top 3, top 4 of all time is just that hug in the middle of the ring with the confetti.
Yeah.
And how beating Brock Lesnar, dude, like all of it, man. It worked and it was emotional.
Well, and I mean, Eddie could do anything though, because he could go out there, he could lie, cheat, and steal, and you could get that version of Eddie, or you could get the version of Eddie where he was, I think it was Brock Lesnar, in fact, that he was in the ring with. It may have actually been leading up to that match where Brock is talking about his drug use and that sort of stuff, and then Eddie brings it to like a real life sort of promo, and you're like, oh man, I'm invested. I'm rooting for this guy as a person. You saw him like flip the switch on a dime, and you could feel Eddie's emotions right there in the middle of the ring. And so I think that is probably also maybe underrated about Eddie is just like kind of the range that he had to do anything, whether it was the promos or in ring. And he'll just always go down as one of my favorites in any era.
And a lot of people like to call him the Mexican Shawn Michaels. I think he's probably better.
I haven't heard that.
I heard it a lot.
I like it though. I like
Eddie
it.
might be a better promo than Shawn Michaels. So I mean, you could even I could see it. Yeah, I could see a world where Eddie's over Shawn.
Who's funnier? Because I think it's Eddie. And and Shawn was funny, dude. Shawn was funny, but I think it's Eddie.
Yeah, I think Eddie's got more staying power through his whole career. It's tough though, man.
We're gonna piss some people off.
Yeah, I think we just kind of realized maybe it was we saw Shawn Michaels for 30 years and Eddie was kind of cut short, but
fair.
Peak Eddie Guerrero, we didn't get a long enough run. Like he was that dude.
Well, speaking of one of his classic rivals, man, you had the 104.
I love this pick. This is one of those guys that just everything about it. We were talking about on our live stream, if you didn't check, part-timers, everything, and we brought up Ronda Rousey and how her transition from the UFC world to the WWE. Well, this is a thing that's completely different with Kurt Angle, a gold medalist wrestler, and he comes into the WWE and he checks all the boxes of being one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time. You can include all his funny Kurt and all this other stuff, but when he was in the zone, in the ring, he legit, made you believe every single move he was doing.
I think when you ask folks the simple question of who's the better wrestler, and you were to stack up, Kurt against basically anybody, there's a real good chance there's a real good chance that their answer is going to be Kurt Angle like 10 out of 10 times. I mean, I think too, when a lot of people say, well, who's the better wrestler, their mind instantly goes to the in-ring product.
Right.
And that's a totally fair aspect. But personally, for me, when you ask me who's the better wrestler, I kind of take a little bit more of an all-encompassing approach. So it's the promos, it's the intro,
Right.
it's the in-ring, it's all the bells and whistles. But Kurt has that too. That's the thing, is like there's not a lot of holes in Kurt's
No.
game. And so, he was one of our WrestleMania rewatches leading into WrestleMania season. You can check out that content on YouTube as well. And look, some of Kurt's early promos, they're definitely green. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. But I also heard Kurt in a sit down with Chris Van Vliet talk about how, he would get like 3 pages worth of promo to go out there and memorize, and he'd get, like 90% of it right for somebody that was basically just sitting down and starting. So when you consider that, like, his starting point for the business, and then to see where he evolved to, oh man, I mean, Kurt is truly just absolutely one of the greats.
When you take a Shawn Michaels, you take a Bret Hart, where they're at when Kurt Angle's where he's at in his career, crazy. So it shows you, dude. And I think peak Kurt Angle, like I think it was what 02 to like 06, not 06, 02 to like 05, right around that like Brock Lesnar feuds at WrestleMania and everything. Peak Kurt Angle, dude. He was unstoppable. That hour-long Iron Man match with Lesnar on SmackDown, like.
Well, and the crazy part is, though, is that run could have been longer, right? If not going for to TNA. Like there's the thing that's actually, that may be the biggest point for Kurt Angle, is that actually this era is extended. It just wasn't in WWE.
Yeah.
He was still great in TNA. It's just, if you're only tuned into WWE, like a lot of us are, then you missed out on a lot of that. But I've seen a lot of Kurt's TNA run too, man, and he's still special in TNA as well.
Yeah, one of the diamonds of, like, I guess, WWE developmental. You can kind of, this is kind of not that, this was the first class of like WWE in-house growing their own talent, but this is right here after the territory days, and like, dude, they just banger after banger after banger.
All right. Well, I'm going to follow up Kurt Angle with somebody else that I think is in the conversation for a Mount Rushmore, whether it's of this era or of all time. Fight me. Not really. I'm probably going to fight anybody at this point. I'm too old. But it's Randy Orton, man. It's the Viper. It's the RKO. But at this particular point of Randy Orton, it just felt like the dude was a menace, that he was unstoppable, that he was coming into his own. And you could see right where this was, like, all roads were leading to him just being what he's been basically today. It's like sitting there saying, like, you've got early career, I don't know, Mike Trout. And it's like, okay, well, if injuries and weird things don't derail him, he's going to be one of the GOATs. Randy's one of the GOATs. It's just how it is.
Yeah, this is, like you said, Mike Trout, LeBron James. Like, you see it the instant he's on your TV, like bell to bell, he's great. He's cocky. They give him the legend killer gimmick. Like, everything worked with Randy Orton. And it's because it's Randy freaking Orton. He's one of one. There's nobody else like him. And dude, and just like I said, he would have been, in many circles, he probably would have been the one-on-one, but you had John Cena right there. And Randy Orton, sometimes art imitates life, and he had to grow up a little bit. But Ruthless Aggression, Randy Orton, like, this is their diamond in the rough. This is their blue chip athlete. And I think even more than Cena, you saw this right off the bat with Orton.
I think when Randy's career is said and done, which I don't know when that's going to be, because I think he recently just signed like another 4 or 5 year deal or something like that. Seems like he's ageless at this point. But I think when his career is said and done, we're going to be able to look back to this Ruthless Aggression era and kind of pinpoint and be like, oh, we all saw it coming. Like, we all just knew, and he's been, to think about how long this has been. We're talking about like early 2000s, right? Guys, we're in 2025. It's been so long. And Randy is still he's still so damn good, man.
And like you said, like right off the bat, we saw it. Like it was in our faces. Like the
Yeah.
first year from Evolution on, you were like, okay, I know this guy is going to be world champ, and he was like the youngest world champion at the time.
Yeah.
So it just shows you like some of these guys, like especially in this Ruthless Aggression era, between him and Cena and some others, like it didn't even take that normal 90s, trial and error. Like it was off the bat, these guys were it.
Well, and the wild part too about Randy is, there's a lot of the things that move wise that were in his arsenal then and are pretty much unchanged and untapped to his arsenal today. Like there's not a wild difference between what he does in the ring now. It's equally as smooth, it's equally as thought out. He doesn't really do the drop kick anymore, and I would argue that Randy has maybe a top 5 all-time drop kick as well. Just go back and look at the height that he gets out of that. So he doesn't really do that, but he also doesn't need to. And that's kind of the beauty in Randy Orton, no matter where you watch him from. There's a lot of things that he just doesn't need to do, but whatever he does, it makes sense. It works. It's, I was just listening to Mick Foley tonight. I went to see his one-man show, and he was talking about how, I think it was a Backlash, the Randy Orton feud that he had where Randy spits in his face, and just how how Randy would go in for a part. He's like, Randy absolutely did not want to do this, but then he also realized the moment. And Randy is someone that I think is always going to realize the moment, and that's what separates Randy from basically everybody else.
Yeah, just one of the best of all time. Let's keep it going to another one who's currently, wrecking shop, and that is the head of the table, the main man in charge, Triple H at 106. I don't know if head of the table, but
I know. I was like, wait a minute, how'd Roman sneak in here?
But this was a weird one. Like Triple H, to me, I'm just gonna go back to like where I am in life. So this is, I'd say, really his run. So we get Hunter Hearst Helmsley, we get DX as kind of a sidekick. He's kind of the focal point of DX, but he's still kind of a ha-ha guy. And then he gets that McMahon Helmsley run like early 2000s that kind of establishes him as a main eventer. But I think this Ruthless Aggression era is really where he comes into his own as being dominant. Now, I'm saying Triple H is great, but I don't think as a Hunter Hearst Helmsley, kind of falls into that attitude era with The Rock and with Stone Cold. You didn't see him as a main eventer right off the bat.
So, no, there was definitely more legwork there to be done and things to be established. And I do think it is a little bit different when you have a John Cena or Randy Orton that's considered quote unquote homegrown, right? And then you have Triple H come over with the gimmick that he did, and you still have to kind of like, no matter how great he is, he still has to shake off that I don't want to say stink because that's like not the right word, but he still has this old gimmick. He still has this old gimmick, WCW. He has the stigma sort of attached to him. So he's still going to have to go through those levels. And you see it even in today's current product, the Seth Rollins type, the Dean Ambrose when he was there, the Roman Reigns, the homegrown talent. A lot of the homegrown talent, man, Charlotte Flairs, they're the ones at the top of the game. So to your point, he did kind of have to go through a little bit extra, and you'll see it. I remember I sat down and watched Triple H's documentary about how something had happened in the ring at some point, and Vince is like, I'm going to put you through the ringer. It's going to suck for like the next 6 months, and I'm pretty sure it encapsulates this portion of the Ruthless Aggression era. So no matter how far he was behind the 8 ball, he figured out a way to get out from behind it, reinvent himself, and keep trucking.
Well, I think this is when your Stone Cold's kind of not there anymore. The Rock's kind of in and out of Hollywood, but you have him with Evolution, building others. So you see he can do that. He's with Ric Flair. He's Flair's elevating him, but he's really elevating Ric Flair. And then his heel work here, I think, is what really stands out, is that he is able to take a microphone, take over your TVs. You're getting Triple H treatment like you get Judgment Day these days. Like he is on your TV all the time. He is a heel, and he really owns that heel work. I think he comes back from the quad injury. A couple months later, he's already a heel, and he doesn't quit being a heel till he reforms DX like the end of 06. So we have like a good 4-year run of Triple H. They call it the Reign of Terror, and it's because he is a heel. He is on your TV. He's consistent, and he's just that damn good.
Well, I'm going to keep it to start the back half of our draft here, Maddie. I'm going to keep it in the kind of the homegrown arena, if you will. Look at these traps, dude. Good God. Look at Brock Lesnar. Look at Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's the pick. It's
easy.
It's insane to think that we have a draft that Brock in any capacity lasted until the 107, but here we are at the 107. I mean, good Lord, dude. Think about that looking at you from across the ring. I mean, he's right there kind of neck and neck with Batista in terms of like intimidating factor from the time that they walk through the curtain. As Paul Heyman kind of referenced Braun Breaker this past week on Monday Night Raw is the next big thing. Brock is the OG next big thing. And dude, if you truly go back and watch Brock Lesnar in this era, you realize that he is just I think I've mentioned this a couple of times, but Big Show was talking about just people he was in the ring with and kind of the raw power. Everybody talks about, from Big Show to Mark Henry to John Cena, whoever it is, that when you get snatched and picked up by Brock Lesnar, there's just nothing else like it across the board. And you can basically see that from any point in his career. He's just an absolute freak.
Yeah, and Ruthless Aggression wise, we get like maybe 2 years of it, 2.5. That's all you get of Brock Lesnar, but he's so impactful, like right off the bat. Like this guy's, Stone Cold's refusing to lose to this guy, but before you have it, before you hit big mistake, but headlining WrestleMania like back-to-back years, and he's gone. But then he comes back, and he's made such a name for himself that the star power, you can't diminish anything. But yeah, probably the first like real freak of nature, like everything was there for Brock Lesnar, and we saw it. Like it was main event after main event. And just, what is it? He destroys like both Hardy Boys. Like there was just all these moments.
This is before him leaving for UFC, right?
Yes, he leaves at WrestleMania 20. So
right,
he's only there WrestleMania 18 and 19, and 20 after 20, he's gone.
And that's the Goldberg match, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So to think that I think that's maybe like kind of the biggest sticking point to tell you about what Brock meant at this particular point in time. So you said it, he gets 18, 19, leaves at.
Take that back. He didn't even do 8. He wasn't even in the.
He wasn't even there at 18.
So he main events WrestleMania 19 against Kurt Angle, and he got after 20. Crazy.
Okay, so he's gone after 20, and so if you haven't seen that match, dude, the live crowd shitting all over that match because they know both Brock and Goldberg are leaving after this match for different reasons, but they're both gone. And so to think that that's kind of like the last impression that you get from Brock for a while before he's off to the UFC, but then to come back and leave do everything that he's done since then, I think that tells you about how special this run is for Brock.
Yeah, and not to just to show you how dominant those 2 years were. He's beating Kurt Angle. He's beating The Undertaker. He's beating Hulk Hogan. Like he's beating everybody, and he's not even a year into the business. That's how dominant.
Yeah, luckily that Shooting Star Press did not fully
Jesus Christ.
All right, man. Who you got next?
Dude, that was. Let's keep it. I still can't believe that. But you think you know me? Do. Rated R superstar? Like, dude, came into his own in the Ruthless Aggression. Him and Lita together, like, everything kind of just worked out perfect. He was always, you saw the star power. He was always in that mid card. He could kind of go upper mid card, but something didn't click. Kind of like, it reminds me of kind of like the Roman Reigns. But then you add that heel factor, cheating, the whole Matt Hardy storyline. And after that, dude, everything he did touched the gold. So rated R superstar, like, just like, I can't put words into it, how important this was for his career.
I was going to argue earlier if there was anyone more cocky or better at being cocky than Randy Orton. I think it might be Edge. Just
Still working,
looking at this picture alone, like look at this cocky little freaking grin
yeah.
he's got going on in this picture. Yeah, man, Edge. In which if you don't know the whole backstory with him and Lita and Matt Hardy, like the true version of that story, it's worth going out of your way to watch, and then you go back and watch everything that happened within this Ruthless Aggression Era, and you're like, whoa, that played out on our TVs. And we have heard it often, right? That things taken out of reality tend to be the best things that get put on our screens for the WWE product. And to have a real life situation like that, work through it, get what we got from Edge, and then for him to go on and basically catapult, that's pretty freaking impressive, dude. It's not the same, obviously, as Brock Lesnar leaving and going away and coming back, but it's a different like trial and tribulation, because that could have easily blown up backstage for everybody. It could have blown up out there in front of everybody,
He could have
on
got
live
fired,
TV. It could have been all sorts of things. So the fact that didn't happen, and then we got what we got, pretty incredible.
Yeah, just it made a star in Edge. And you go on to see, kind of after this, everybody rubbed toes when and it wasn't just the rated R superstar, it was the edge heads. It was just everything he did, thank God his career's still going, because he is one of the best of all time. And I think he's got some more left in the tank. But yeah, Edge at 108, you can't, especially this era, I think he fits perfect.
Well, at 109, Matty, you can't get any Stratusfaction because I took it. I wasn't leaving this draft without my girl Trish Stratus. Come on now. It's Stratusfaction Day every day, folks. Trish, in all seriousness, one of the GOATs, one of the barrier breakers of that time. I know it's widely regarded as her and Lita. There were other folks. I was reminded of this at Evolution. There were other folks that were ahead of their time and just don't get necessarily the recognition, but obviously Trish does get that. And we are talking about, kind of the most influential folks of this era. And she's it, man. I mean, she is everything from, the storylines to the magazines, to the heel work, to the teasing. I mean, Trish is just total package out there, especially for this era.
Well, and I think that was kind of the missing factor of Attitude Era, kind of going into this Ruthless Aggression, was the total package. You'd have a Victoria solid in the ring, but was she really what made you tune in? You'd have a Sable or a Chyna. They had that it factor, but they didn't necessarily deliver in the ring. And I think that's where you got with Trish. Lita, you can say Lita too, but I think Trish is the one that really stands out. She had it all. She had the looks. She could do heel. She could do face. She could do promos. She could work with Vince McMahon. She could work with Triple H, The Rock. You saw her rub elbows with all these elite talent that a lot of superstars, at least in the women's division, like I said, give Lita her props, but I think Trish is on a different level. And I think she is really kind of the pioneer of getting more eyes on the in-ring competition for women.
Is this too early, or does it also encompass the Christian and Jericho?
Yeah,
feud?
that too. Yeah,
it's
that
in
was
there.
part
Yeah,
of it.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought so. And her role in that, to get that turn out of that on that sort of stage, I think you basically hit it there on all fronts to say, like, look, she can do it in the ring. She's got the mic work. She can be heel. She can be face. There's like nothing really. There's not a situation that you could have thrown Trish into where it wouldn't have worked. I mean, she's kind of chameleon-esque in that way. She could just go out there and adapt. And, you got that era before where it's like you are just there for the eye candy or the bra and panties match or whatever it is. But then you get Trish and you see her level it up on all fronts. And I think that's, she's responsible for laying a lot of groundwork for the product that we got in front of us today.
Yeah, and I think that's why Stratusfaction every day, because she is that. Like, you could even put her up against some of the current in-ring wrestlers of today that are in the women's programming.
Yeah,
and she does a lot better than a lot of them do, which is saying a lot with such a stacked women's roster. So 109, you could even say this is low for Trish Stratus, and you could make that argument. But yeah, props to her. Next guy, kind of controversial. Had to keep him on the list just because what he meant to this era. In ring, Chris Benoit 110. It is what it is. It's in ring work, his
Right.
intensity, his storyline. Just another one of those guys like Eddie Guerrero, kind of slow burn. Took him a while to step up, and he did. Like he delivered during this Toothless Aggression Era, and I think that's kind
Forgot
of
about that.
that's where I am with Chris Benoit. There's with Kurt Angle, with Eddie Guerrero.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of better in-ring technicians than Chris Benoit.
Yeah, and I mean it's obviously going to be a polarizing topic from now to the end of time there with Chris, and when we do these sorts of rankings or shows or content, whatever you want to call it, it's always with the we're coming from the angle of we're discussing what we're discussing with the product itself, and we're not discussing. Obviously, if we're discussing like the person,
Yeah.
then this is not a conversation, folks. So it's purely about this era and what was on in front of us on our televisions. And to your point, he's very Kurt Angle. He's very Dean Malenko. He's very Daniel Bryan, just in-ring technician. There's not a lot of gaps in his game when it comes to the in-ring bell-to-bell stuff. But dude, intensity-wise, I've maybe 101. I mean,
Intensity?
honestly, I know we talked about Brock and Batista and everybody else, but there was something that it just there was a gear shift that, like, honestly, I don't know the Benoit ever came out of it. Quite frankly, it just felt like
No.
he was at that intensity level 24/7.
Well, and then the entrance music, like
Oh yeah,
it's a
it's
dude,
so good.
it's deep and you feel it. Like I think it was just that perfect storm of guy that was kind of overlooked, and you have that Royal Rumble, you have everything. It's kind of like I keep going back to the Eddie Guerrero, but it's a different vibe, but it's the same like story.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked perfect for both these guys. So I just think I couldn't do the Ruthless Aggression mock draft and not have him on there, just kind of showcasing what he was as a WWE wrestler.
This is also an era of bangers. I'm realizing as intro music, like
Oh, so good.
kind of down the line here. Like all of these are pretty good and like very memorable. It's not the not
Yeah.
to shit on not shit on the folks that are making the current who is it? Def Rebel. Yeah, not to shit on Def Rebel any more than they already have been, but
right.
as I just go down the list and I sit here and think about the actual themes, I'm like, I remember every single one of these, and they are pretty much all bangers, man. So yeah, that's another good little tidbit about this era. I'm on my last pick, yeah.
You're on your last pick. So I have to ask you, we are at 111. I'm kind of in that same boat where there's a lot of guys that were left off the list.
Yeah.
Who were a couple you were thinking of as we got towards these last ones here?
I mean, there were so many ways to go. The person that I was really truly torn between is your last pick, and I won't spoil it for the folks, but I was right there with your last pick, and then I was also there with Rey Mysterio. Rey was. It's so difficult with Rey because Rey is one of those people that is like always great, but Rey was never really like the guy, I don't think, in a lot of ways. So those were the two that I was really between here. But with my last one, I end up going, drink it in, man. Oh God, that facial hair. Went with Jericho. He is up there, man, in terms of being cocky and like kind of delusional, really, with the way that he would come at people. And it's so funny because the way that Jericho would sell whatever he was telling you, and it's kind of really still true. It felt like he believed it. Like it felt like he believed the bullshit that he was trying to sell you at any point in time. But he is also within this strain of folks where, especially here, I wouldn't even argue in WCW as a cruiserweight, but bell to bell, man. I mean, just so entertaining, so incredibly entertaining, and so spot on with basically everything he did in the ring.
Yeah, and that's like Chris Jericho was one of those like early on, you knew this guy had it. Like
Yeah.
He knew how to stand out. And like I saw a clip pop up, and he's doing the intros for like the cruiserweight battle royal where he's or the Luchador Invitational or something, and
Oh,
he's
yeah.
just like this guy is
I
like
forgot about that.
this is like 96 or 97, and he's just on fire already. And Jericho always had it, dude. Like you said, he reinvents himself. His
Yeah.
promo game might be, top 2, 3 of all time. Like it's all one of the best talkers for sure. But then the ring work, like it almost gets overlooked because he is so good at all aspects of his game.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, right? Is like if you had to pick like a portion of Jericho's game to where like if you're creating a wrestler, right? There's so many things you could pull from and be like, okay, do you want it to be the fashion? Do you want it to be the look? Do you want it to be the theme? Do you want it to be the trash talking? Do you want it to be the in ring? Like, which part of this do you want to pull from Jericho? And I'd be like, I don't know, man. Give me any of it, and I'm lucky to have any of it. Jericho is just one of these people, man, that I think in a lot of ways, to your point, when he came over from WCW, maybe he wasn't ever supposed to be in the position that he eventually gets himself into, beating who was it, The Rock and Triple H,
Stone
right?
Cold, Rock
Or
and
Stone Cold, yeah, excuse me,
same
Stone
night.
Cold on the same night. Obviously, you go on to hear about that forever from Chris Jericho, as you should. Yeah, man, to be able to work and get yourself into that after coming over in the WCW Cruiserweight division. I think that speaks to how good you have to do everything to position yourself like that.
When you could, I mean, that's the thing. Like Chris Jericho's he's got a list for a reason. Like the first
Yeah.
undisputed champion,
Yeah.
the best debut of all time on WWE programming.
Ooh,
Like
a little spicy there. I like it.
yeah, that one. I mean, then look what he's done in AEW, which I don't watch AEW enough, but I know he's got the like Jericho Appreciation Society.
Yeah.
He's elevated MJF at one point. Like there's so many layers.
I would just say that Jericho is a big reason for AEW being at least where AEW is at.
Oh, absolutely. He is
So,
that.
yeah.
He's everything to this era of wrestling, and I'd say almost to any era of wrestling.
All right, take us home, Maddie. Who's your last pick?
We gotta ring the bell for the wrestling god. We're talking JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, kind of a throwback to the show Dallas of the 80s, just this heel personified, modern day $1 million man. But dude, what a 360 from APA JBL to what we get and like what we needed during this ruthless aggression. We needed more heels. We have all this young talent. We have all these great wrestlers. But as far as like being on the mic, the presentation, everything about it kind of side by side with Jericho, like it worked. It was so good. And it's what was really needed for these feuds with Eddie Guerrero, with Batista, with, other guys in this category. But JBL, when I think of ruthless aggression, I think of just, a Star is Born here.
JBL's promos can only live in this era. Is really about all I can say. They are incredibly entertaining. They are very different.
And they're real. So
and they are things that would not make the air this present day on WWE programming for the most part. But man, JBL is just, oh man, there's something about like he's a big dude. He's a big physical, intimidating dude. But then he would go out and be this chicken shit. And there's perfect. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if anybody else at JBL size could have pulled it off like that. I mean, I really, really don't. And the way that he would like, beg and plead and like all this other stuff, and just such a cheater too. And you love to hate him. I think JBL is like one of these first characters where you wanted to hate him. I mean, like literally Dom-esque. You want to hate JBL so badly.
Well, and I appreciate it so much more now than I did.
Yeah.
Maybe at the time because it was different and I just don't know if I was vibing to it. But now I look back at it and I just have like JPL as one of the heroes. Like he did tribute to the troops. He started that. he started so many things that were him, and it's just a testament to JBL, the wrestler, the performer, the person. I'm like I said, with each day, more appreciation goes out to it. I did have some other thoughts. I thought about Booker T. I thought about RVD.
Oh yeah, Booker T was
yeah,
he was right there too. Yeah,
especially with the King Booker and then RVD during that. But then they do personify ECW. They do personify WCW.
Right.
So
right.
did they have the impact that Jericho had? To a degree.
Yeah,
But
it was tough.
Yeah, I think when at end of the day, when I think of JBL, I think of as a heel, I think he's, top tier. He was one of those guys. And like I said, I think he ages so well. Like you said, the promos might not different, but as far as every execution of everything as a heel, it was perfect.
Yeah, no complaints. I mean, again, I was between my last pick and your last pick, so literally, if we just switch spots, he's getting in either way. So
that wraps us up for Ruthless Aggression mock draft. If you like this one, go check out our page. We've done an 80s golden era. We've done the Monday Night Wars. That's WCW versus WWE. This is Ruthless Aggression. We'll be coming out with a couple more of these as the month goes on. Make sure you check us out at all social media platforms at Wrestle Matts. You ready to get out of here, Matt Kelly?
Let's go. See you next time.